We have several matters to cover tonight. I'm going to ask that everyone stand for a opening prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I would ask that the council give a moment of consideration for the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Justice Ginsburg was a pioneer in the defense of women's rights. She had 6 times appeared before the Supreme Court, winning 5 of those 6 cases. She's just a monumental woman, small in stature, but big in voice when it comes to defending the rights of women here in America. She will be missed as a member of the bench, and she will be missed as a member of the community at large. So there's a moment of silence in the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Thank you. Heavenly Father, we ask that your grace and that your mercy be upon us. We ask that your divine presence be with us. We ask that this day and the days to come that we will carry you wherever that we should go. We ask that your love and that your mercy always remain in our hearts, that we treat each other civilly, and that, Lord, that we have the courage, Heavenly Father, to admit that when we are wrong and to bravely apologize to those who we offended. This we pray in thy name. Amen. We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Council, and thank you very much, staff, for participating in that. As I said before, we have a packed agenda. You should have your agenda in front of you. You should have council meetings from the July the 21st meeting. I was not present at that meeting. I did have an opportunity to review it the other day, I should say. Are there any additions, deletions, or questions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, the chair would move that they be accepted with unanimous consent. You also have disbursement from September the 15th and also September the 22nd. You should have had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Lane, our finance officer, about those disbursements. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections with those disbursements? Hearing none, the chair would move that they also be accepted with unanimous consent. Okay, item number 5, I do not see, oh yes, I do see Sheriff Gamble is with us. This is an update on Talbot Goes Purple. We have Sheriff Joe Gamble with us. Also, there's Lucie. Okay, Lucie Hughes is also with us. And see here. My board is moving around. So Sheriff Gamble, can you hear me?
Sir, I can.
Okay. We don't see you, but we do hear you. I saw Lucie for a moment. Maybe she'll pop back in. But Joe, why don't you go ahead and take it away from here, Sheriff, and tell us, about your upcoming plans for, I don't know whether it's this year 5 or year 6 for Talbot Goes Purple here in the county?
It's actually year 4, and Lucie's going to kick it off.
Okay. All right, I'm going to start us off, and then we're going to kind of tag team it. So first of all, thank you for inviting us back to update you on Talbot Goes Purple. On behalf of Tidewater Rotary, the Talbot County Sheriff's Office, along with our partners, Talbot County Public Schools, St. Peter's and Paul, Midshore Community Foundation, we want to thank the County Council for your continued support. And this year, as Joe said, is number 4 of standing up against drug abuse. I'm really proud to say that this year we're joined by Allegheny, Caroline, Dorchester, Frederick, Somerset, Queen Anne's, Washington, Wycomico, Worcester, and the entire state of Delaware for this effort. While it looks a little different this year for Talbot Goes Purple, we're still committed now more than ever to sharing the messages. So I'm going to turn it over to Joe.
Okay. Thank you, Lucie.
During this time of COVID, Council, it's been difficult for all of us to get our messages out. But now more than ever, we really need to continue to share these messages. We all know that since the pandemic really got in full swing in March and April, that overdoses across the country, including here in Talbot County, have seen a sharp increase. Going in early in the year, we were at 0 deaths for the year into April. And then once the pandemic hit full force, our numbers have gone up at a higher rate than they normally would during that period. So it's really important we get our message out. Lucie?
Okay. And as Joe said, it's been a challenge this year. It looks a little different, but we've still moved forward with it. We had 30 educational messages that we're pushing out. And thanks to Chess, our MC, we've got those translated into Spanish this year. We share one of the messages each day on Facebook. If you will notice, they're educational banners spread across the county. We and CEI have aired them daily on the radio. The Star Democrat has shared messages along with articles in their 22 print editions for the. Somebody's really loud. Sorry, I'm talking like really loud because I'm trying to talk over something. Sorry. But we've also had some virtual events and have virtual events to come. We did a virtual kickoff. And we had 619 views for that. On September 8th, we screened the American Opioid Crisis, Talbot Goes Purple. Many of you saw that last year in the Avalon. We had 763 views for that. And the film was also available for an entire week on MCTV. Tonight, we're screening the Chris Herron film, The First Day. So I encourage anybody, if you get off in time, to pop on and watch that. And the APG Star Democrat also approached us about doing a video podcast series called Stronger Together. We invited Caroline, Dorchester, Kent, and Queen Anne's to join us. And there are 2 episodes. The first one premiered on September 17th. The second one will premiere on the 24th. And they've both been focused on helping families provide prevention during COVID. The September 17th episode was viewed over 200 times. We've kicked off the mobile prescription take-back and Narcan training in partnerships with the volunteer fire departments throughout the county. Shore Health has sponsored it. Preston Talbot Goes Purple truck that pulled the Talbot Goes Purple Dare trailer. Events have been held in Cordova, St. Michael's, Queen Anne's, Trapp, Tillman, and tomorrow will be in Oxford. And our last one will be in Easton on the 24th. And most importantly, we've really counted on the citizens of the county to help us get the messaging out. We've encouraged everyone to share our Facebook messages, watch the virtual events with your families and at businesses, turn your businesses purple. Once again, we've been really lucky and businesses supporting that. Display the purple lights, wear your purple gear, and encourage the community to take place in our drug take-back events and use our resources on the website to help start the conversation. Joe?
So one of the things that, has been our mainstay with Purple is really trying to educate students, and we're trying to figure out how that would look with a lot of kids not being in school in the pandemic. So we've done, we have a couple of projects we're doing with the kids. One is a voice recording with high school students that are aired daily on WCEI and Winks at Forever Media. So every day, the kids are developing their own educational messages, and we're sending them to the radio station. They're taping them, and then they're going on out every day. So the high school kids are participating there. And then Rodney Spring of Spring Associates, who's been just a tremendous supporter of Talbot Goes Purple, is supporting a public service announcement contest for students that'll run September 1st through October 30th. And the winners will be aired over, so they'll develop a commercial, public a substance abuse message, awareness message, educational message, and then we'll run those over the holidays. And Rodney Spring has been gracious some funding to give prizes to those kids. So we're working on our virtual clubs. The clubs in our schools obviously aren't meeting, so we're working on virtual clubs, and we'll be doing that throughout the whole year. Lucie?
Okay, great.
On behalf of the Talbot County Sheriff's Department, Tidewater Rotary, we just once again want to really thank you all for your support. None of this would be possible without your support and the support of our community. Special thanks to the Star Democrat, to Easton Utilities, to CEI, the Multicultural Resource Center for translating our messages, and to all of our sponsors. And a special thank you goes to our partners. We couldn't do this without the Starkey Foundation, the Talbot County Public Schools, and St. Peter's Hall.
Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it. We'll take any questions if you have any. I don't know if you can hear us anymore.
Well, thank you. Yeah, your feed was kind of breaking in and out, Sheriff. So hopefully all of that information, Lucie, is on the website that the Sheriff was speaking about. So anyone who did not pick that up can go onto the Talbot Goes Purple website and get those dates and learn more about those virtual clubs, but I think it's a great idea as we deal with the COVID pandemic. So fourth annual year of Talbot Goes Purple here in Talbot County. I believe we were the first county to kick this off, and it's now become a statewide substance abuse deterrent program. And so just want to thank you guys for all that you're doing to keep this alive and running and helping to save lives here in Talbot County. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roz.
Mr. Peck, if I can add to that, I want to really congratulate the Talbot Goes Purple team for figuring out how to move the messages into different platforms to make sure that that word gets out this year. I think you've been really effective in social media and other channels in making that happen. And I wish you all the best and congratulations on what I hope, what I perceive is a really effective campaign.
Thank you, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
Mr. Pack, this is Frank DeVillio. I would also just like to go on the record and thank both of you and all the organizations, Spring and Associates, Tidewater, Rotary, the radio station. That's fantastic that they're getting that the kids are creating their own message to put out for their peers. That's fantastic. Right now, with people being locked in homes as they have been for quarantine for the last few months, we know that there are problems, and we know that there's stressors and there's risks are right there in the medicine cabinet, and it's easy to start. So I thank you both for putting out the message that keeps our kids safe, reduces crime, and protects the county. So thank you both for all of your work.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that too. Lucie and Joe, I mean, spectacular. You're the best. You've really, this year has been tough on everybody. And Lucie, I mean, you've done such a phenomenal job, and I want to commend you and Joe for all you're doing. And Joe, I've been, Rod, I've been throughout the county, and I've seen your deputy, setting up his little display and stuff. And he was in court over the day, and there was several people around there showing it. So it means a lot, and I want to commend you guys for doing that stuff, because that's a big deal to small little towns too. Know that we're there for them.
Just want to add that, having law enforcement showing the incredible side of what you all do and how much you truly care for the community is so important, and we really do appreciate your message. And to think that this started with little old Talbot County, and now nearly every county in the state, and I think even nearby states, it's really, really catching on fire. And you just really started something and got the ball rolling. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Okay, Sheriff, you be safe. Are you still traveling back from Western Maryland?
I am. I'm still here. I'm gonna head back soon, but I'm still here. That's what the fuzzy feed is.
Yeah, okay. Up there in the sticks, as they say. Well, have a safe trip back home. And Lucie, thank you very much for all that you're doing. We appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See you guys.
Council, next on your agenda, we're going to get an update on the school opening, which we're all very excited about. And do not see Dr. Griffith. Is she with us, Kelly? Superintendent. Susan, I don't see her. Do you have her online anywhere?
Mr. President, she was on here a little while ago with Preston, so we might want to kind of, give her a little bit of time to get on.
She was? Okay.
She's trying to get back on.
Okay, she lost connection. Okay, well,
Mr. Shafer is on though.
Well, yeah, I do see Kevin there. Let's give Superintendent another moment. I want her to go ahead and do her presentation for school opening. And if she doesn't pick up in a moment or so, we'll jump over to Kevin and then bounce back to her. Kevin, you are still there, correct?
I'm still here.
Okay, just want to make sure you were on the batter's deck.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, sir. Okay. And I'm sure she'll probably want to hear your presentation too, Kevin, so I don't want to get far into it. Okay.
Mr. President, you do have Ms. Greenaway on as well, if you'd like.
Yeah, I do see that she's on deck as well. If the superintendent doesn't pick up, why don't we go to council? Why don't we just make a quick switch here? Because I don't want to belabor things too long here this evening. We do have with us Kristen Greenaway. She's the president of Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum for an update on the Chesapeake Bay Museum. So, Kristen, why don't we go to you now, and then we'll go back to superintendent when she comes back online.
Sounds good. I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay.
Is that up for everybody?
Yes, I can see it.
All right, great. First, I want to thank you for your time, everyone on the council, giving me this opportunity. I think about 3 years ago or so, to update you on what's happening at the museum. Before I get to the main part of the presentation, a quick update that we reopened to the public on June 29th after closing on March 14th, having celebrated for 2 entire weeks the end of our fiscal year and the most successful programmatic and financial year to date with 84,000 visitors. And we're currently trending around 60% non-festival visitation from last year. And of course, we will not be holding any festivals this year. So earlier this year, we commissioned Rockport Analytics in Annapolis to conduct a new economic and community impact study for the museum. And I'd like to take this time to run through a few key findings from that. And first, the results from the data are very clear that the museum is a driver to the local economy, and we aim to serve as a leader in the Eastern Shore's economic recovery at this time. As highlighted here, I've just got a few slides I'm going to run through. Last year, as I mentioned, we welcomed more than 84,000 visitors from across the Mid-Atlantic region. Slightly less than a third of these attendees, it's about 27,000 people, were residents visiting from within 50 miles, while the remaining 68%, that's nearly 58,000 people, registered from outside of the area or stayed overnight in paid lodging. So among these visitors, 70% of them were main purpose visitors who named the museum as the primary reason for their trip to the area. And these are the people that have the economic impact on the area. And that includes 21,000 main purpose visitors from Maryland and nearly 20,000 main purpose visitors arriving to St. Michael's from outside the area. This next slide, visitors, I think this is probably one of the biggest numbers here. Visitors traveling specifically to visit the museum from more than 50 miles away generated $11.6 million in visitor spending in Talbot County. And the museum's visitor and business operations spending supported more than 250 direct jobs. My apology, 250 direct jobs in Talbot County. And the museum's visitor spending and expenses for operations in Talbot County contributes $10.3 million in total impact for the county's economy. And you can see on the right here with our plans for expansion at the museum with new buildings, which is coming up. We're starting later this year and into next year. That will bring in the $4.2 million value added for Talbot County and is projected to contribute $3 million in Talbot County wages. This next slide, you can see that the majority of the impact, I mentioned 11.6 for Talbot County, 11 million of that 11.6 million is spent in St. Michael's on travel-related goods and services like hotels, marinas, restaurants, and local shopping, which shows that the museum really is the backbone to the local economy. And we also, as shown here, we contribute 180 full-time and part-time jobs in St. Michael's. This next slide gives you an impression of the impact on Maryland overall. $6.5 million in net economic impact the museum has on the state of Maryland. It's really a figure that has grown tremendously over the last 5 years since we commissioned our previous study. And I appreciate there's a lot of information on this slide, but I'll give you some of the key points here. CMM supported wages in Talbot County total more than $8.9 million. And without the museum, Talbot County's 37,181 households would each have to pay an additional $46 in state and local taxes. So whereas we may be a not-for-profit, we don't pay taxes ourselves, but the trickle-down effect and impact on the county, St. Michael's and the state of Maryland, you can see is $1 million in annual tax revenue for the state in that regard. And 44 cents of every dollar spent by visitors goes towards the wages of St. Michael's workers in the town's restaurants, lodging, and retail establishments. And what I found, these are results we did not have 5 years ago. State and local taxes collected from museum-supported spending were enough to educate 130 Talbot County public school students for one school year. And also that the spending generated through the museum, through state and local taxes, support the annual starting salary of 38 Talbot County public school teachers. Additionally, the $5 million contract that the museum received 2 years ago to build the state of Maryland created 10 additional jobs. So in summary, and happy to take any questions, the museum's visitors generate a significant amount of tourism dollars and tax revenue for county, St. Michael's, and the state, and we're doing our very, very best to keep it that way during these hard times. And it's crucial that we all work together, follow the appropriate ordinances, county, St. Michael's, to keep the spread of this virus contained so we can keep the local economy moving in the right direction. Thank you very much.
Kristen, thank you very much for the presentation, and you all are doing a remarkable job down there at the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum. I've always been a big part of this community. I can't count how many times I've been down there for different events that were done by outside groups that you guys have hosted down there. So you've been a great partner to Douglas Honor Society. I think BAM have something down there recently. Yep. Just been great to have you guys here. And yes, you're certainly making a tremendous impact here in Talbot County. So hats off to you. One thing I do want to ask regarding the expansion project, is there any timetable on how that project is going?
Yep, good question. Thank you, Corey. The library collections expansion, which will give us another 5,200 square feet, that is starting. In fact, we're getting quotes right now for construction. That will start either later this year or very early in the new year. And the new multi-purpose building, about a 12,000 square foot building, that will, we hope, to have full funding within the next, actually, few months. And the anticipation for that is to start construction either middle to late next year.
Okay. Well, that's great. You guys are right around the corner from a big time expansion there. And it's just going to bring more people here to the area to see what's happening at the Maritime Museum. So I'll stop and see if there's any more comments from any other council members.
This is Frank DeVillio. I love the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum, and I really greatly appreciate all that you do for the community, especially just bringing tourists here to the community, and the good ones that are obviously spending money and staying and keeping, enjoying and appreciating the area. It's a great opportunity to learn about the Chesapeake Bay and have that experience where you go home respecting it a little bit more than you had before. So thank you very much for that. I'm excited for the expansion for you guys. I can't wait to see how that all works out. But I do want to really thank you for all the contributions that you make to the community. It's fantastic. The children love it, and it's just such a great, worthwhile educational experience that we love going down there. So thank you.
Frank.
Yeah, Chuck Callahan, Kristen, you've done a spectacular job, and we at Talbot County. I mean, you were right. It's the heart of St. Michael's, and you do such a fantastic job. And kudos to our main man, Pete, too.
Yeah, we've got to give you kudos to keep that guy around, right?
Yeah, we do. We got to give him some kudos.
He's our longest serving staff person now, I think about 28 years.
That's wonderful.
And the good part of it is I made him smile.
It's not hard. It's not hard, Chuck. But thank you.
It is. It's nice to see all the smiling faces, but I also want to thank you, Kristen. You've just been an extraordinary leader there. I mean, it's always been, the gem of St. Michael's and the gem of Talbot County. But what you have added to it is just amazing. And thank you very much. We really do appreciate everything you do. And we're all through trials and tribulations, but it's going to come back even stronger. So again, thanks.
Yeah, it's appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Anything from you, Mr. Lasher? If not, we'll move on.
Sorry, Corey, I'll just say one more.
The team.
I don't know which one you were speaking. I think Pete was speaking.
Sorry about that. I just said I'm proud to be part of the team there.
Okay, good. And I'm going to go back to Mr. Vilio. I think Frank had a follow-up statement.
Yeah, the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum, when you put the plan together on reopening, it was brought up on one of the countywide phone calls that we had with the health department. And I remember how pleased they were and how happy they were that you put safety first in every decision that you made. And it went a long way towards making them feel more comfortable with the opening and knowing that you were going in the right direction with that. So thank you for being a great example to the community of what we can do when we think about safety and plan accordingly. So thank you.
Yeah, Frank, thank you very much. We have an incredible team at the museum. We really, really do.
Well, Kristen, thank you very much for the presentation. I look forward to being down there soon. Thank you. Have we found Superintendent yet? Is she with us yet?
I'm here.
Okay, I hear you. Don't see your head yet, but let me take my glasses off.
You won't be able to see me, but you can hear me.
That's the next best thing, Kelly. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Superintendent Kelly Griffith for an update on our opening of our public schools here. Kelly, the floor is yours.
Okay, and Jessica was going to try to share the slides. I don't know if she's able to do that because I can't see, but I will begin by sharing with you that we started school on September 8th. The first week was all virtual. We still needed some time to get kids connected. As of today, we have been able to connect most of our kids, and I'll give you some details on that in a few minutes. And the past couple weeks, we have brought in more than 200 students in small groups, and everything is going extremely well. We are in our orange stage of hybrid, which is small groups in every building. And we brought back the students with no connectivity first, and some of our students with special needs as well, and homeless students. So those are the students we focus on.
Excuse me, Dr. Griffith, could we have everybody mute their phones if not speaking? A lot of background noise. Thank you.
So we have been following a schedule of doing synchronous learning on 4 days a week, where the students are on with their teachers an average of 3.5 hours. Next is a little more than that at secondary every day, and then they have asynchronous time. They have teacher time also on Wednesdays with small groups or office hours. And we did put out a commitment form to all parents, asking parents if they are ready to return to school in the full hybrid model or would like to remain virtual for the semester. So we did get that commitment form out last Friday. Tomorrow is the last day to get that commitment form in. I have an ongoing tally so far. We have approximately 70% of our parents have filled it out of their students. So we're still trying to get that last 30% in so that we can plan accordingly with a hybrid model. Our next phase with the hybrid model will depend on the number of families that are committed to coming into school. Right now, I'm looking at about a 65 to 70% of our families so far do want their children to be back in school. So that's what we're looking at so far. And if that's the case, we will continue to work our plan and do the hybrid model. We are very pleased with our digital divide and our community partnership with our educational foundation. We have been able to connect most of our kids at this time, and the ones that we're bringing in, Easton Utilities, Atlantic Broadband, and Verizon, are steadily getting into our homes and getting those kids connected. So in case we ever have to go back to a stay at home, we can do that. Jessica, if you can just flip to the digital divide slide, I think that I'll just pick up there. That's probably your best bet. We have raised almost $90,000 to pay for families to have that connectivity for the remainder of the school year, which I think will be definitely appreciated all throughout. And if you go to the next slide, Jessica, it gives you a little bit of some examples of how we're using Easton Utilities plan in connecting families, but we're also using some hotspots that were paid for through grants and also with some local funds. 427 hotspots are out. And then it also shares with you the cost per family per year that we are spending that money on. Connectivity was a major concern of mine in the beginning, and I'm feeling much better about that now. I talked to every principal today. They're all feeling really comfortable with the connectivity. We do have some spotty areas and some areas that no matter what we do, it's not working, and those are kids that we have in. So that's a good thing. I'm going to go to the next slide, which is the demographics. And what I want to share with you on this slide is we are a little more than 200 kids less than we had last school year. And what that breaks down to is we're 55% white. That's right where we were last year. Our Hispanic Latino population has gone up 1% more, and our 2 or more races has gone down 1%. Our free and reduced meals right now as we speak, and we have until October 30th to get some more of those forms in, but that's gone up another percentage to 49%. And just as of today, actually yesterday, we had 75 students that we were bringing in that were classified as homeless. We are currently at 433 English language learners, which is up from last year. Our special ed population is about the same. It's down just slightly. But what I want to emphasize with this slide is our enrollment is down because some parents have chosen to do homeschooling because of COVID. We are reaching back out to them and saying that if they would like to stay on our virtual program and stay enrolled, that would be great. And if they would like to come in, we're going to start bringing our students back in that hybrid model right at the beginning of October, that second week of October. So we're trying to still reach out to some of those folks to get some more in. But with this enrollment the way it is, basically it will make our FY22 budget income a lot less from the state and a lot less from local. So we are looking at approximately losing 1.8 million with this lower enrollment, which is another reason why we're still reaching out to families to see if they're willing to come back. or we also have some families that haven't enrolled in pre-K, and we're trying to get them to see if they'll be willing to enroll as well. But I wanted to give you a heads up on that because that is a big difference. Please note that the number of students that are eligible for state aid, they are students that does not include our P3 or pre-K program. So it's actually a decrease of about 165 students at this time. With that slide, I also want you to know that our teachers are doing an amazing job teaching right now. We are getting pretty much a 99.5% engagement of our kids. And that is impressive, and that is done with a lot of hard work and planning. And our staff has done an amazing job doing that. I'm walking through buildings. I see teachers dressed up as all kinds of characters because they're acting out things for our pre-K students. I see stuffed animals on the screen because they're trying to keep those kindergartners engaged. But they're doing an amazing job. I don't think our teachers could work any harder at this time. And all of our teachers are back in our building. They have been since August. And the next slide that I have, and then I'll entertain some questions, is a slide about the class of 2020. I am very impressed with how the class of 2020 ended their school year, considering we closed on March 13th. We actually have the highest graduation rate we've ever had in Talbot County Public Schools with the class of 2020. It is 95.79, and our dropout rate is the lowest at 1.58. Last year it was 93.9 and 4.07. We have 71% of our students plan to go to a 2 or 4 year college. That's a little less than last year, but we did have a large increase in the amount of students in the class of 2020 that actually took some courses for dual enrollment because of COVID. I think a lot of them started working on some of those courses virtually. We did have more students take advanced placement course than we've had in the past, and we had a little less of our students finish with a career in technology completer than the year before. That's 40%. Our SAT average went up again for the 4th year in a row to a 1067, and that's a composite average. And our scholarships are still hanging around 14 million, which is outstanding. One thing I can say is we were just able to find out that we can now count our NJROTC program as a CTE completer. So that's going to be phenomenal for our students that want to pursue either the military or take NJROTC. They can do that for their graduation requirements. Jessica, the next slide is a list of all the colleges where our kids were accepted to. I know this is kind of tiny, but you all will get the PowerPoint. So I think it's important that we put this out there to the community because these are not, these are truly acceptances from our students. So they're going and they're doing incredible things along with our staff. And the next 2 slides show our support staff of the year, Tasha Aiken, and David Cherry, our teacher of the year. So we are actually starting very strong. Our theme this year is resilience. And I can tell you that I have been so impressed with the resilience of the TCPS team and so grateful of the support of the community and the patience of our parents. This has been an amazing feat. I can tell you that we have everything in place to make sure that we have the proper PPE and all of the cleaning supplies that we need. And we are ready to get our kids back in that hybrid model starting that October 5th. We're planning that now. That's our goal, is to get that done. And we just really appreciate everyone's support, including your support. And I will be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Griffiths, for that report, and it's glad to see that our students and staff and faculty have embraced this new reality, and school is underway here in Talbot County, so that's excellent reporting. One question that I do have, I believe that you hinted to that a number of our students perhaps are now being homeschooled. And how do they go about setting that up? Do they have to sign a waiver or something that they have to produce to you to show that that student is being homeschooled? Are there quarterly reports that they have to report out to you for the homeschooling to be accredited?
Yes, we actually have a homeschool person that actually monitors all our homeschool families through student services. And they have to actually, when they withdraw from us, they have to enroll in an accredited program. And we do mid-year monitoring and end-of-year monitoring with reports and data. So that is something that we have always done, and we've always had students in Talbot County that have homeschooled. We have had an increase of about 100 more students that have enrolled in homeschool. So when I say we're 200 less, it's not all students that went to homeschool, but it's about 100.
100 went to homeschool this year. Okay.
So far. We're hoping to get some people back now that we're moving along and we're actually doing things in a strong way.
Okay, and you have a big an event taking place on September the 30th at 2 p.m. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, and I probably should have put that in here. There's so much going on for you.
That's okay.
September 30th.
That's okay.
It's hard
I understand.
Believe, but yes, we have our grand opening of our Easton Elementary School building September 30th at 2 o'clock. It will be by invitation only. We will be outside, but we're really trying to keep it below 50 people, around more like 38 or 40. And we are very excited about that new school project. We really appreciate your support on that project. And the students are just in awe. I love watching them walk down the hall and look up at those murals. And they are just so proud of their new school. Dr. Salmon will be here also for the ribbon cutting. And I know, Corey, you'll be saying a few words. We're going to videotape it so that Mr. Jackson, I don't think, is able to make the trip, but really wants to be to watch it. So we are going to videotape so we can make sure he gets a copy of that. And anyone else in the Alumni Association that might want to be a part of that ceremony. But we're very excited about this grand opening.
As well am I and the rest of the council, I'm sure. Dr. Griffith, one last question. Can you confirm the report that I'm hearing is that the Easton Elementary School will be, square footage wise, the largest elementary school in the state of Maryland. Is that true?
I do know that was the case at one when we started building the building. I would have to defer to Kevin to find out if that is still the case, but I do believe so.
And we'll bring
it with you and let you know for sure.
We'll bring Kevin up next, and maybe he'll have an answer for me. But I'll open it up to the rest of the council. I'm sure they have some comments for you.
Dr. Griffith, I know that we have a large and growing number of students on free and reduced meals. I know that that was an important part of the school's efforts over the summer. Was the feeding programs, and I'm curious how that is changing as we move into the school year.
Yeah, that's a good question, Mr. Letcher. We are not serving as many meals as we did this summer, which I find really perplexing, to be honest with you. I do think when we get our kids back, we will be doing more. We do have pickup. Our parents did ask for us to change the time from 4 to 5:30 because it's easier for them to pick up the meals after work. So we did change that time. So we're hoping that might help get more people to come pick them up. Their breakfast and lunch is free to any child 2 through 18. So we are getting more and more information out there, and we are having students that are coming into school eating lunch at school as well.
Okay, is there anyone else? Comments?
Yes. Hey, Kelly, good, great report. Really appreciate all that you've done, all the teachers and everybody. Really, really appreciate it. Can you clarify something for me, please? So, so you said you had like 100 and some that are homeschooled now.
There's 100 additional students that went to homeschool. We have about 130 students that normally homeschool in Talbot County regularly.
Okay, gotcha. And is that so they're home plus the 200 less students that this year?
No, out of the 200 less that are enrolled, 100 did enroll in homeschool.
Okay,
So
I got you.
The other 100 went to either moved or went somewhere else.
I got you.
I don't have it all broken down just yet.
No problem. No problem. I was just kind of thinking through that with that situation like that. Did you feel like that gave you on some of these classrooms? Did that give you a little bit of breathing room on some of these classrooms?
Oh no, I want them back.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
okay.
I want them back. I think what happened, to be honest with you, I think a lot of people jumped to homeschool when they saw what happened in the spring.
Gotcha.
And they saw that there were just a couple assignments. I think now that parents are experiencing virtual school and how well the teachers are doing with it, I think we might get some of those homeschool families back because they see that it will be a choice that they can have moving forward. So we are thinking that there might be some that come back.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Hi, Dr. Griffith. This is Frank DeVillio. So if you could just speak about the survey for a second. You said that about 70% have completed the survey, which gives you the data you need to decide how many kids are coming back or how you're going to handle it.
Correct. So we asked parents to decide if they were going to join us in the hybrid model going back or if they were going to remain virtual for the rest of the semester. We also asked if they would need transportation and if they would be planning on using our food service. So now what we do is we move in our plan into the next phase, which is the yellow phase. We're moving out of the orange and into the yellow as we had planned. And so now what we will do is if it is 70%, 30%, we actually have to look at it by school, by grade level. And we got to really see how many students we will be able to bring back in that building safely, still keeping 6 feet social distancing. And then we'll make a determination of the schedule of how it will go based on that. So for an example, and I'm just going to use this as an example that people can kind of wrap their heads around. Let's say at Tillman Island, I have 30% of my parents or 40% of the parents want to come back to school. You know, 40% of Tillman might be able to come every day, right? But if I have 40% that want to come back at Easton High, I might have to do an A day, B day, depending on the number of students. I might have 70% at Easton High and 40% at Tillman. So we do have to look at each of our schools. We have to look at the grades, and then we have to make a determination of how we're going to do this in a safe manner. Our goal originally was to do a hybrid model where the students are coming in a couple days a week, and then they're going to be doing asynchronous learning a couple days a week, and others would remain virtual. So we will have to work all of that out. It will depend also on our buses. Our buses can only hold 24 students at a time right now. That is way different than what we normally run our buses. So when we look at this model, we also have to look at transportation and where are those students going to school and how many buses we're going to be able to use to transport the students. So this is a real complex logistics, managing, moving target, if you will. But that's why it's important that parents need to get back to us, because we really want to make sure we have the right numbers. I have told parents that if you're on the fence and you want to come back, but you're still not sure, I said just opt in and say you want to come back. It's easier to pull them out virtually than it is to put them in physically. Because once you get a certain amount on a bus, you can't just add another student. Does that make sense?
Yes. That is excellent. Yes. And this is, so there was one of us on this council who spoke out very much for local control of education, and you're doing an excellent job of that. And Talbot County is unique from all the other counties around, and just like each county is different. I greatly appreciate you reaching out to the families to find out what their wants are, and then putting a plan together around that. This is completely different than the spring was, and I want parents and families to know that. With the 2 week of what are we going to do in 2 weeks, and what are we going to do for another 2 weeks is over. Now we're really planning for the whole school year, and it's with community input. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. I mean, it's really important. I mean, this is a scary thing for some families, and we just want to assure our families that safety is first. And we have had kids come in slowly, steadily, but we're having success, and we're very proud of that.
So
Dr. Griffith, speaking regarding safety, our SORs, our SROs, where do we stand with those school resource officers? Are we still in need of the number that we have? Do we think we need to make some adjustments there with the deployment of those officers?
You know, while our plan is calling for us to continue to transition and phase, so actually Steve Elliott reached out to us today and gave us a plan. They're using those SROs in the Sheriff's Department now. So I know Joe's short, so it's helping him tremendously. We are also, they're helping us at meal distribution sites. But we have them, Joe has it all figured out of how he's going to continue to use the SROs in our schools, but when they're not, they're doing some things for him as well. You know, Joe and I are working together on that, and that's the way I think it needs to work.
Okay. What about the number of substitutes? I guess right now you're not having a high demand for substitutes, correct?
Yeah, we do have some cost savings, Corey. We have some cost savings because we didn't start, you know, coaching in sports. We have some cost savings because we're not doing after school activities. We have some cost savings, obviously, you know, in some of these areas. But we also have spent a lot more in, you know, PPE and infrastructure and signage and technology and some other areas. We've really done a great job, I think, personally, in getting a lot of grant money. And we have written for every grant imaginable to the tune of, you know, we've gotten about $1 million in grants. So we are really trying very hard to make sure that we're being good fiscal stewards of taxpayers' money, and also trying to retain resources from grants from other sources.
Hi, Kelly. It's Laura. Speaking of PPE, you know, the technology and PPE and all of those things, there was a separate pot of money, however large or small, that came from the state to pay for those types of things. And one of the things that we've talked about at our MACO meetings is to make sure that those items which qualify, which would be the PPE, the food, the technology, is paid for from that pot of money and not from our operating budget. Can you tell me if you've exhausted the money that came from the state for the COVID-related expenses, and if you've had to dip into the operating expenses, then I think that's something that all of the counties need to share to make sure that we can get those reimbursed, so that those types of expenses don't come out of the operating budget.
Yeah, I mean, we are not using operating money right now. We're using our grant funding, whether it's MEMA, FEMA, whether it's CARES Act, whether it's GEARS Fund. we're using that money for the PPE and all of the things that are COVID related. And that is the goal. We also know that the state has just said they're going to give $10 million out to schools that have reopened, and that is us. So we'll get about $200,000 with that. And right now, we're looking at that money because that's supposed to go to PPE or transportation. We're looking at that for second semester because we certainly don't have enough to go for the entire school year, but I don't know what this COVID is going to bring second semester, and I would rather be over-prepared than under-prepared.
Right. We just want to try to keep, obviously, the expenditures in two separate pots.
We do.
And if there's
Sarah Jones has a spreadsheet where she's keeping them totally separate.
right, and submit for those expenses as we go along. I guess another big savings right now would be in transportation. Since we're really, I mean, I guess minimal running of buses, which maybe we'll pick up as we go along through the semester and through the school year. But I guess
transportation costs. Yeah, because our buses are going to have to do a couple runs because of only holding 24 students. We're going to have to do a couple runs instead of one. So our transportation costs might go up. So
as parents are making the decision whether to come back, hybrid model, hopefully a lot of them, maybe they're like, well, I'll have them in school, but maybe I'm not so comfortable with them on the bus. Maybe people can work out, and for anybody who's listening, you know, carpooling with your neighbors and friends and transporting the children to school themselves if they have the ability to do so. Not everybody does. They have their jobs and the timing might not work out, but I guess the more people that are willing to drive their kids or a couple kids to school will take a little bit of the pressure off the bus systems.
Yeah, so far when I look at the data from our survey or commitment form, we have about 50% of our parents that are requesting bus transportation right now, but we still have to get a third of them in. But we are looking at less, Laura.
Okay. And that's something that they can do if, you know, like I said, if they have the ability to do so, a way that they can help so that, you know, the budget's going to go into different places. You know, you have savings in one area and overruns in the other. So anything that people can do to, you know, the good old fashioned carpool.
That's right. Thank you so much for reminding people of that.
Okay, Dr. Griffith, thank you very much for the presentation. And again, I look forward to seeing you at the grand opening of the Easton Elementary School next week. One thing I think council does have up on this agenda coming forward, I think the school board districts have to be redrawn, if not by the end of this year, by the first of next year, I believe, Dr. Griffith. Is that correct?
I do not know about that.
Yeah, I think they're up. I think it's once every 10 years. So I'll double check with Jess. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think that's coming up. So anyway, thank you very much for the presentation. On the line,
I have a couple more questions for her, if that's okay.
Let me move on, Mr. Villiers, if I can, because Kevin has a presentation.
$1.8 million is significant. I'd like to just, if we go back to $1.8 million of loss, that's significant due to the kids or the parents who are not completing the survey. We need to make sure that everyone completes that survey. And again, if anybody's on the fence about sending the kids back in or not, sign up for it. And if you're nervous and don't like it, you have the opportunity to pull out. But $1.8 million of lost revenue is significant, and I want to make sure that that's correct and that we are getting that message out. Is that correct, Dr. Griffith?
Well, it's 1.8 million, the amount of students that are not enrolled, that 200 less that are not enrolled, not the ones that didn't go off the survey.
So they could be homeschooled, Mr. DeVilliers. That doesn't mean that they're not surveyors.
They have gone somewhere else, or they might not have just enrolled and they moved here. So we need them to enroll. Right.
You got it?
Thank you very
much. Kelly. Thank you. We're going to move on to Kevin now for his presentation. Kevin?
Thank you.
Thank you, President Pack. Good evening, members of the council and staff. I'm going to try, this is my first WebEx event to track their screens. Give me 1 second here. All right, there we go. So I come before the council this evening to request consideration of the FY22 Talbot County Public Schools Capital Improvement Plan. The format of the CIP submission and this presentation is to provide a prioritized list and description of capital projects to be submitted to the Interagency Commission for Public School Construction. Now I need to figure out how to advance the slide here. There we go. Sorry about that. So the first priority is the complete roof replacement at Easton High School. The plan requests funding in FY22 and 23. The roof continues to be relatively stable, but requires ballast, as you can see in the pictures, to prevent wind damage to the roofing membrane. Our maintenance staff continues to monitor its performance and make repairs as we move towards replacement. And just so the council is aware, this is a 15-year roof installed in 1997. It's 23 years old. As I stated, we are maintaining it. We've had an architect look at it and multiple roofing experts, and all are recommending replacement. But this is a mitigation tactic to keep those ballasts on the room to prevent the further damage from wind and other weather conditions. Second priority is a roof replacement at Chapel District Elementary School, which specifies funding requests in FY24. This roof also remains relatively stable, and our maintenance staff does continue to monitor its performance and make repairs as we move towards replacement. This is a different type of roof, built-up roof installed in '94. It's 26 years old, and we, some years away, but we just want to put it on the back burners so that the council is aware that that will need to take place. The next slide here displays a portion of two forms contained within the CIP document. The top portion is from Form 102. It's on page 13 of the packet that displays the cost associated with the Easton High School roof replacement. So moving from left to right in the green, it gives the total estimated budget for the project of $5,072,000. Local funds, $2.65 million, and the state funding would be $2.41 million. And this is over 2 years, if you notice, FY22 and 23. So that cost is broken out a little bit further in the bottom part of that slide, which is from Form 102.4. And it shows from left to right there, highlighted in green, total cost, then the state and local. I have the prior public school construction / IAC funds highlighted in pink there as zero, but there is a chance that there will be some remaining state funding from the Easton Elementary School project, which is still up in the air, obviously, as we move towards closeout of that at the end of this year, but it could be somewhere around $200,000. And then it shows the current request column of $1.2 million, $1,208,000 from the state for this coming year in FY22, and then the other half of that, which would happen in FY23, and that would mirror basically the same cost locally. And then you'd see the chapel roof out in FY24 for $542,000 for half the cost of that. And I just wanted to talk very quickly. We've been working with a roofing vendor, and which is where we generated these cost estimates. And I've also had discussions with the public school construction program, the IAC, about where we are coming in at on roof costs. And on the Eastern Shore, we're looking at anywhere from $26 to $32 a square foot Western Shore, they're upwards of 40. The public school construction program is seeing those kinds of costs, real costs in projects taking place now. And it is a little bit shocking to me, and the council is probably aware that back when we replaced the St. Michael's roof, we were looking at $14, $15 a square foot, so almost double the cost in a 5-year window. But like I said, I'm not exactly sure what is driving that. I'm hearing that it's, well, I can tell you that of that $5 million estimated cost, only about $1 million of that is for the actual roofing products, and the remainder is for the labor associated with the install. And that is, like I said, that's consistent with local projects that are being conducted now. So I wanted to make the council aware of those upcoming projects and the request that would be submitted to the state, with this document. So at this time, I am requesting that the council consider supporting the FY22 CIP as submitted, but certainly I can answer any questions that you may have prior to consideration.
Is there any questions out there for Kevin regarding the CIP request?
Yes, Mr. Shafer, on the roofs, are the proposed replacements in kind, that is membrane roof for the existing membrane roof in Easton and so forth?
So, yes, the Easton High School roof would be replaced with EPDM roof, which I'm going to give you that acronym, but it is a standard roofing product. So one of the things I didn't mention, and it's a good question, is another part of the increased cost is that the specifications required by the state have changed significantly. So these would be a 30-year roof rather than the cheaper 15, and we're required to do that. And it includes additional, to meet code, it includes additional elements, including 2 layers of vapor barrier and specific thicknesses for the actual membrane, and so on and so forth. So yes, to answer the question, Easton High School would be a replacement roof of a similar kind. Chapel, that would not be. We would not install a build-up roof. Those are astronomically priced, and we would install an EPDM roof there at that time.
Okay.
Any other questions? Kevin, council's consideration for the CIP that tonight doesn't bind us into this $2.6 million projected cost right now. It just gives you the means to go ahead and make the application to the state for these 2 projects. Is that correct?
It would. So I'd just be, I'd be requesting a letter of support from the council for the FY22 submission. It would be for the funding of the Griffith High School roof. Yes.
When does that have to be turned in by, Kevin?
October 5th, I believe, is the deadline.
So obviously the elephant in the room is that we, I'll start with the good news is that we ended this fiscal year with a extra chunk of income tax revenues, which is, one-time distribution. And of course, with the, economy, the way it's going and the uncertainty, everybody expects that, state revenues are going to be down, local revenues are going to be down. We have some things coming up on the ballot in a couple of months that'll, if they pass on the ballot initiatives, will help, but certainly don't get us all the way there. But we still don't have enough money on an annual basis to be making the payments on the new elementary school. We understand that we need new roofs, but I get concerned when you support something, you going to the state, and yes, they need to pay their share as well, but it kind of starts the ball rolling, and saying that we support this. We don't know that we can afford a $5 million, even half of a $5 million roof when we're going to be having a hard time making ends meet. And we know that it costs money to maintain them. It's not that anybody believes that, again, certain things are needed, but some things are going to have to be put off because we just simply won't have the money. And, you know, the state school construction fund is actually tied to Kerwin, and Kerwin is kind of a mess. And we'll see what happens in this upcoming legislative year. But something that they married the two pieces of legislation together last year. And, you know, MACO's advocating for at least continued school construction money, which is also, I assume, for roofs and new construction. I guess that's a long way of saying that I have, you know, major concerns, as I always do, and that when you write a letter of support, you know, if you get your state funds, then we're, you know, while we're not quote unquote obligated, you can't say no at that point. So is it something that you feel like you have to submit this year, or, you know, because we have all of these other expenditures and other things that we have to pay for that are already on the books, that are already debt on our column, you know, I'm going to say, can this wait a year and continue maintenance and just see where we come out of this and how long we're stuck in COVID land?
So Ms. Price, I'm getting a little bit there, so I apologize there. So I would say that number one, as part of my job, obviously obligated to continue to ask for the funds associated with these projects. And the county obviously has responsibility to maintain the buildings. I mean, Easton High School is $75 million building. Obviously, the roof is what protects all of that. So it is important that we prioritize projects like this to protect our assets, right? With that said, we have survived the 23rd year of that roof. I would just stress to the council that there is a risk there. There's a systemic failure with the roof that cannot be fixed through repair. So I just want to make sure that it is in the and I would say it's bordering.
Hope you're breaking up a little bit.
I'm sorry. I just to restate it. It is a project that the roof at Easton High School is bordering on an emergency. So I don't think anybody can really say if we can wait on it. I do think it should be a priority though.
Kevin, I don't know if I've seen any. I know that the Easton High School roof has been brought up before with council, so I know that it has been on your list before. We passed it up and pushed it down the road, or kicked the can, as some would say. I don't remember seeing the last report, if there was a report done on that rooftop. I know several years ago, I believe Mr. Bartlett went up on that rooftop and took a look at it himself. I'm going back several councils back. But you're absolutely right. It is the responsibility of the county for maintenance and repair of those buildings. We certainly don't want this roof to fail or fail any further after we spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars putting a new air conditioner in that building. So, a letter of support is different than a letter of commitment. I would like to have the opportunity, and I wish we had another week or so for me to sit down with Ms. Lane and look at these numbers a bit closer. But that's the only thing that gives me pause right now this evening, is that you need this letter back by October the 5th. Council won't be coming back together until a week after that. Is it any way possible we can get an opportunity, or at least I can get an opportunity to speak with Ms. Lane before you get an actual vote on this?
Mr. President, it's Andy.
Yes.
Sorry. So I just want to remind council, every year when the letter goes up, you do include a sentence that says, subject to the availability of adequate county funding at the time each project is scheduled to be initiated. Don't know if that provides you with the comfort level you need or not.
Well, actually, Mr. House, that provides me with plenty of comfort level. Then, if that language is always built into that letter of support, that would certainly give me enough time to sit down with Ms. Lane and go through the numbers more closely. But Kevin, you're absolutely right. Your job is to present to us your priority list. I do know that the Easton High School roof has been an issue for a number of years, so this isn't anything new. And perhaps that its lifetime has just come to the point where it needs to be redone or resurfaced. So I would vote to support the letter of support with the language that Mr. Hollis just laid out, also being included in that letter to go up to the state. And I'll hear from the rest of the council at this time.
I think, as Mr. Shafer put it, you've got to protect your assets, and putting off a roof and in danger of catastrophic failure is penny wise and pound foolish. The county went through a disaster like this back in the 1990s with the St. Michael's building, and got a bailout from the state at that time. We can't count on that kind of thing happening again. I think they've changed the state procedures on that since then. We need to take care of the properties we've got, and when we're being told that they're getting close to a state of emergency, this is time to do it. I'll certainly support this.
Mr. Callahan?
Yeah, I think, Kevin, I think you're telling us straight up like it is. I mean, a lot of times when you go, you know, if you're seeing failures right now, I mean, you know, a lot of times it's, you know, per se, it's too late. So you need to act now, you know, and look, Mrs. Price, I fully understand that, you know, we're in a budget crisis in a sense with the pandemic and all that, but we've got to protect this asset. And at least this just gets the ball rolling in one sense of the way, and no commitment at this time. And we're just going to have to make that decision next year when Kevin comes back to us and said, this is what it's going to cost. You know, I mean, it needs a new roof, you know.
Mr. DeVillio?
I agree. And I accept Mr. Shafer's recommendation.
Ms. Price, will you make it unanimous?
Yes, just always want to make sure that we get the message out and voice our concerns and why we need more tax revenue, and just keeping that awareness out there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It is unanimous, Mr. Shafer, so go ahead and we'll get that. Well, I guess Jess will work with you to get the letter drafted and add my signature to it and send it up with you.
Thank you very much.
Jeff, do you have one more presentation before we let you go?
No, that was it.
That was it? Okay, sir. Then I'll go ahead and say goodbye to you. Thanks, Kev.
Thank you.
Okay. And Council, will you have, we're going to hear now from our president of the Talbot County Fire and Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association, Mr. Phil Starkey. He's been patiently waiting on hold with us. I know they have a 7:30 meeting. Phil, I'm sorry that we couldn't get you on any sooner. There you are. Lower that camera a little bit for me, Phil. There we go. And so, Phil, I know you have a number of requests for council. Thank you very much for being with us, and I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, President Pack, and the rest of the council for entertaining me tonight. I have a few things. Speed. The fire companies overall have done a really good job with handling the COVID, and they're with the lack of fundraisers, they've adjusted.
Did we freeze? Did he freeze?
The hope. You hear me?
Okay, Phil, we're getting some interruption in your feed. I want you to try to start over again. Let's see if we can pick you up here.
One suggestion, if he doesn't have great cell service, he could turn off his video and just try speaking. Yeah. You might try it without the video feed and just speaking. It might help with the amount of megabytes on your connection.
You can try that, Phil. We do have your letter, Phil, so we do have that in front of us as well. So you want to just drop the camera off and just go with your audio. Let's try that, okay?
Okay, how's that? Is that any better?
That is much better, Phil. Let's go with that. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, like I was saying, the fire departments have done really well. We really thank you guys as the council for approving the hose testing. The hose testing was a big success for all the departments, especially with the lack of funding because of the fundraisers. Chief Sonny Jones has done an excellent job with the Chiefs Committee. They've been steady meeting every month. He is currently working on with the other chiefs to come up with a package deal. So for gear purchase, which will help save the companies and the county money in the long run by doing one purchase per year. The companies have also, the engineers have been meeting with all the companies, and they've been setting up drills. So it's been a really good working relationship with all 7 companies. They do it once a month. Even through the COVID, they've come up with training seminars. So it's done really well. A couple of things that the Talbot County Association has done. The R&R did set up at the 4-H fair, the virtual, or whatever it was called, for the 4-H fair. They did some recruitment. The county, St. Michael's, Tillman Island, and Easton has about 12 new firefighters that are currently in class at this time. 8 at nighttime, and I think 4 students through the VOTEC, which is a great thing because we weren't really promoting the COVID. We weren't really promoting recruitment because of the COVID situation, because a lot of the companies weren't meeting, and just trying to abide by the rules and regulations from the COVID stuff. I want to also give kudos to Clay and Brian and Holly for all the excellent work they've done this summer. We've had a couple great big fires. The dispatchers did an excellent job. The chiefs gave them kudos. Thank you guys for putting that paramedic 91 in the service for 5 days a week, 12 hours a day. It was excellent. We all appreciate it, especially on the north end. Jan, that was doing the food distribution, she did an excellent job. She gave each company was getting food donated to the companies, and we were dispersing it within the communities. We did it all summer long. Her and I coordinated together to get food to the stations on Thursdays, and the stations gave it out to the communities, which really worked out well. And actually, some of the stations wish they had kept it going, but I guess the federal funding had run out. That's kind of basically what's been going on with the association. There's 2 things I've come to you guys also tonight. One, I will be sending a letter just to let you guys make you aware that I'm going to be sending a letter request to look at possible assistance to some of the funds that were lost due to fundraising activities that were canceled due to COVID. I haven't sat down with all the presidents from the stations yet, but once we get that meeting done and come up with a dollar figure, I will be sending that up to the council for review, and we'll discuss it then. The main thing that I've come to you guys tonight about is the longevity awards program. It's a program, LoSAP program, that's based on 50 points. Due to the COVID, a lot of the activities, the drills, fundraising events, meetings have been canceled. So people aren't accumulating the points that might be necessary to get the 50 points by the end of the year. So I would like to ask the council for a waiver based upon the status of the people from the previous year. So if they met the requirements the previous year and they were on the road this year but don't quite have enough points by the end of
Phil?
Yes.
Okay, I think we lost you there for a second.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the presidents of the companies can adjust the point system so they'll have their 50 points at the new year. But the stipulation is that person has to be had to have 50 points the previous year to show that they were active member. So I guess my request is for tonight for the county to allow the departments to adjust their point system with the acceptance of the president's signature on the paper.
And Phil, have you submitted that? I know we do have your letter in front of us, but have you submitted that breakdown to us as far as how that would work? And was this voted on unanimously of all the chiefs to go ahead and waive the 50-point requirement for this year?
It was discussed. We had a president's meeting and it was discussed, and it wouldn't necessarily be a waiver of the 50 points. It'd be an adjustment. So if Joe Blow comes in December or has 48 points, so the next. This would give the president of the company the authority to grant them the other 2 points that they need because it's based on their previous performance. I don't think we're going to have a tremendous amount of people that's going to be affected by this, but there is going to be a few.
So in essence, your letter speaks of a waiver request. So in essence, you are waiving the 50-point requirements for this year, based on the captain or the president signing off on that.
Mr. President, still back on.
Did we lose him?
It sounds like it.
I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. You're coming in and out, Phil.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We got bad reception up here.
So, Phil, this is Laura. Are you basically just saying if they qualified last year, they qualified this year, and let's just carry them over?
That's pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the least we can do.
In the long run, because basically the state, because the same point system are pretty close. It's not identical, but the same system is used for the Maryland tax system. And the state more or less has given the authority for the fire companies to adjust the points to members that were active. So I'm asking for basically the same thing through the longevity program through you guys.
So you're saying the state has already granted waiver of the point system for the taxes?
The way the state attorney has came back to us from the Maryland State Firemen's Association is the state set the system on how to accumulate the points. What happens to them? Anybody can write anything on paper and submit it. And as long as the president and the chief of that company sign off on it, then the ballot paper, they don't really have any background to go back and say, well, that totally didn't happen. They're depending on the companies to certify that there's actual things happening. So they're telling us that we write up a paper X amount of behavior would have been in a meeting, but was canceled because of COVID. So everybody gets a point for that meeting. This person would have had 4 points for this fundraiser, but it was canceled because of COVID. And it was signed off by the president. So we get audited a little bit. The trail is showing that we've actually been happening, but didn't happen because of COVID. So that's has got the 50 points. And according to the charter, I think it's.
We're not hearing what you're saying. It's not 80% of the time. It's all static. So this phone call with Phil unfortunately is not working.
So why don't we do this?
I'm really sorry.
I certainly get the gist of what you're asking for. If I would ask that you allow us time to digest your request. If you can send us the information from the AG, allowing each department, each volunteer department in the state to sign off on the point requirement for the property tax waiver that volunteer firemen are entitled to based on their number of hours of work each year. If you can send us that to look at along with your request, and my question to you again is that if this was a unanimous decision by all the chiefs of the fire departments, I would also like to know if it was unanimous as well to do this. So if you could send us that so we can take a look at it, I would always like Mr. Cooper-Smith to also look at it as well. And we can certainly give it the full consideration of following what the AG appears to have been doing, which is to give consideration for any volunteer that was impacted by COVID. And that would give us something to look at as well.
Okay, I'll put it all in writing and send it to you guys.
Okay.
Mr. Starkey, this is Frank DeVillio. So am I getting this right that members who would normally get points for attending the fundraisers that we caused you to cancel, or members that would normally go to trainings and things like that were canceled due to COVID because of restrictions and not being able to come out, so they lost out on those points due to the COVID-19 restrictions. So we would just be allowing a waiver for those points that we caused your members to not be able to get. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, then yes, as a volunteer organization, I'm more than happy to support you guys. And I appreciate everybody still staying volunteer and wanting to keep their points up through this process, through this year.
I second Mr. DeVillio's motion.
Well, I didn't hear a motion. I heard a support for what Mr. Starkey had introduced. I have requested for some additional information to be sent down based on the AG's interpretation of that for us to take a look at.
Mr. President, I think in this particular situation, I think it seems a little pretty simple to me. He's just asking for a waiver.
I would just say, have him send the information. We can certainly do a vote here tonight to support that. If there's something in the paperwork that doesn't allow us to do so, then we'd have to rescind it. But I think, Mr. DeVillio, you're correct. This is a volunteer organization. It's not their fault that might be short on points. So I think in theory we can, if you want to make the motion, I'll support that. And if there's something that doesn't match up in the paperwork, but I certainly trust what he's trying to tell us. And since we're missing half of what he's saying,
but that's another point too, Ms. Price. I would just caution. I do understand Mr. Villio's passion and wanting to get out there to be first. But if we can just wait and let him send us information, allow Mr. Cooper-Smith to look it over. We don't have to do a formal vote. We can just approve this and send a letter back up saying that it's approved and just sign off on it. So it does have to be a formal public vote on it. But at least we get a chance to make sure that what we're reading and what we're agreeing to is correct.
So I think what you're hearing is that, we're in support of this and we just want to...
I'm in support of it as well.
Yep.
I just want to make sure we're in good grounds to do it.
Yep, dot the I's, cross the T's, and I think we'll probably be good.
Okay, and I can get you the paperwork and you guys will have it, and hopefully have a better understanding. But thank you guys for your support, and
thank you.
I'll get it to you.
I'm sorry that you hope you can make it over to your meeting. I know it's about 25 of the hour now.
That's okay.
But and we'll sign and get it back over to you, Phil. Thank you.
Come back to another one.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay. Next thing we have is lost my place here. Numbered resolution. We have a public hearing. I'm sorry. No, we have several numbered resolutions. Madam Secretary, the first one is dealing with Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan reclassification. If you would read the title to that, please.
A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan to reclassify and remap residential real property located on Ferry Bridge Road, Easton, Maryland, 21601, described as tax map 24, parcels 69, 70, and 191, from unprogrammed to S1 immediate priority status.
Mr. County Engineer will be on the call.
Okay. Mr. Clark, are you there? Are you with us? Ray, are you with us?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay. Madam Secretary just read the resolution dealing with tax map 24, parcel 60, 69, 70, and 191. Would you care to comment on it before we introduce?
Sure thing. I just let the council know that we have received an application from the 3 property owners based upon their request to amend the comp water and sewer plan to include their lots within the sewer service area. These lots are located basically, I guess, across the Unionville Bridge that goes over the Miles River. They're pretty much across from West Circle, or just northeast of West Circle.
Okay. And right now they're listed as unprogrammed, Ray?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Do you know if there's anything about the lots that we should know? Is the septic system failing, or has any of these septic systems failed already?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Clark on the introduction of this resolution?
Mr. Clark, this is the same pipe that comes down Unionville, down St. Michael's Road, and ultimately connects up with the Region 2 sewer plant. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And is this the same line where we've had all those problems with the underground joints failing, resulting in spills over the last couple of years? Is that the beam that these would be using?
The problems tend to happen within our air release valve. But they, and a lot of them would on this line it occurred down where Carroll's Market's located.
Do we have a plan to address those failures system-wide, or are we just we're just tackling them as they fail?
We are currently trying to work on that with also developing, I guess, a monitoring system.
Any further questions, Mr. Lasher?
I think that we need to, as we add more properties to that line, I think that we ought to be attentive to the existing problems there and make sure that we've got a plan to tackle them.
Okay, I'm sure that Mr. Clark does have a very extensive plan, as well as the Public Works Advisory Board. That's something that we always are looking at as we have our monthly meetings. I&I has been a big problem across our lines for years. If there's no further question on the reading of the resolution, Madam Secretary, because we're doing this virtually, I will ask that you call the roll on the introduction of the resolution.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Okay. And you have a number for me, Madam Secretary?
Yes, this will be known as resolution number 293. And the public hearing will be on Tuesday, October 27th at 6:30 p.m.
Okay, 27th at 6:30. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. Council, you do have a second resolution. I will ask Madam Secretary to read that one.
A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan to approve a capital project for the improvements associated with Talbot County Resolution 235.
Mr. Clark, I'll turn it over to you for a bit more explanation.
Sure thing. This is coming from our the Maryland Department of the Environment. They've requested that we go ahead and introduce a resolution to identify the pump station improvements for pump station number 1, as well as identifying, I guess, the capacities for Royal Oak pump station number 1, which we've incorporated into the resolution. This is to help us in securing, I guess, both loans and grants through the Maryland Department of the Environment, so that we're working to try and, I guess, address their questions and concerns.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Clark on the resolution? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, as we are virtual for the introduction of the resolution, please call the roll. Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Madam Secretary, you have a number for us?
Yes, this will be known as resolution number 294, and the public hearing will be on Tuesday, October 27th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you very much. And we do have a third matter for introduction. Madam Secretary, will you read that one?
A resolution to amend the Talbot County Comprehensive Water and Sewer Plan, Resolution 204, a resolution to add a capital project to upgrade the Talbot County Biosolids Facility at 9786 Klondike Road, tax map 18, parcel 57, to add receiving and treatment capability for broken grease, with odor control for FY 2014, with funding in the amount of $6 million. The Utility Service Program, USDA Rural Development, Biosolids Facility, Klondike Road, Easton, Maryland.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Clark, didn't we do some improvements on this facility about 4 or 5 years ago?
Yes, sir, that we did. We ended up with those improvements. Those improvements were done for a rural development loan. What we're doing is we're going to MDE, seeking both, I guess, potential grant funds as well as a refinancing of the loan to help lower the overall cost of the loan cost.
Okay.
So that's and we, based upon the last application, or based upon our submission of our paperwork in January last year, one of the issues was not having the Comp Water Sewer Plan amended, as well as not getting approval through the Smart Growth Committee. So this will achieve all that.
Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Clark on this resolution?
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
So, do we have? Are we doing brown grease right now, or are we making arrangements to do that?
No, we are currently treating for brown grease as well. We're doing septic and brown grease.
If you remember, Mr. Callahan, about a year ago, we weren't getting the amount of grease that we were hoping to get. And Mr. Clark was trying to devise a plan to reach out to some of those restaurants in the area to get more grease. I think there was a place up in Ridgely, Ray, that was taking brown grease. And
it's if I'm not mistaken, it's
Herlock. Herlock, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah, we're still taking it. We're just trying to get more of it. And so to pay off this loan. Any other questions? Madam Secretary, since we are virtual, would you please call the roll for the introduction of this resolution?
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan? Mr. Callahan?
Hey, Chuck?
Yes.
There you go. We're calling, Madam Secretary is calling you for your vote.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Okay, Madam Secretary, you have a number for us?
Yes, this will be known as resolution number 295. The public hearing will be on Tuesday, October 27th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary, for that. We certainly appreciate it. And council, next matter for us is a public hearing. This is on. I'm sorry, I strike that back. This is also introduction of legislation. This is dealing with amendment to Chapter 172 of the Talbot County Tax Code. Madam Secretary, would you please read the title of the bill, please?
A bill to amend Chapter 172 of the Talbot County Code, Taxation, to authorize the creation of special taxing districts in Talbot County for the purpose of installing, maintaining, and operating street lighting along county roads, and when such improvements are approved by the Maryland Department of Transportation, State Highway Administration along state highways within Talbot County.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. Mr. Cooper Smith, are you or Mr. Hollis taking this before?
I'm happy to take this one.
Thank you.
So this piece of legislation would authorize the creation of special taxing districts throughout the county for the purpose of providing street lighting. The most important thing to note in connection with this legislation is that these street lighting districts would only be created upon the receipt of a petition signed by at least 60% of the owners of property located in the proposed district. So the council or the county would not be creating these districts on their own. They would have to receive a petition from the citizens who live in the area.
Mr. Cooper Smith, that's a very important distinction to make. How would the council go about garnishing that petition? Would it go out through as a ballot question? Would it go out where people come to the fire station and vote for it? And how do we, or who would actually map out the catch area, if you would, for that population to be questioned, surveyed?
That's a good question. And there are a couple of different scenarios that could occur. You could have a scenario where there's a neighborhood and the neighborhood decides that they want street lighting, and they might initiate this petition all on their own and present it to the county council. You could also have a situation, though, where the county is interested in initiating or being involved in the creation of the district. And in that case, I believe you would have citizen meetings. You would invite people to come talk about the issue. The county could help with the preparation of the petition, but ultimately there would need to be signatures from at least 60% of the citizens.
Okay. And would the council then basically map out what area we're going to be pulling that information from? So we would map that area out, correct?
In the scenario where the council or the county is involved, I believe that it would be appropriate for the county to have discussions about what the district parameters would include.
Okay.
But ultimately, the petition that's signed by 60% of the residents, that is it has to be in that defined area, and so they would obviously have a say. They would have a say ultimately in what the boundaries are, but we could be engaged in those discussions.
Okay. Any further questions for anybody of the bill as introduced? As read, I should say. I'm sorry. And I think it goes without saying that this is all stemming from the terminal and light situation. Of course, those lights were put up by the community several years ago, many years ago, I should say. The community is right now struggling to pay that light bill. This council did cover that bill both in the FY21 and the FY20 budget, but it's something that the council can't go on doing is paying for private lights. So this would give an avenue by which the citizens would of this district would be taxed in order to pay for those lights to remain on the streets. There's no further question, Madam Secretary, for introduction purposes only. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Pack?
Did you hear me? Aye.
Okay. Mr. D'Amelio? Mr. D'Amelio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
We didn't hear you, Charlie.
Aye. Aye.
Okay.
Ms. Price?
I think we're just going to have to go with a thumbs up.
Mr. Lasher?
Aye. Okay. Something's happening with the sound right now, so let's see if we can get through this. Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, you have a number for me, a bill number? I'm sorry.
Yes, the bill number will be bill number 1464.
Okay.
Public hearing will be on Tuesday, October 13th at 6:30 p.m.
Okay, great. And let's make sure we get that notice down to the Tillman Bay 100 area, please. Okay, moving right along here, we got 10 of 8. Next is the presentation on the Talbot County Diversity Statement. We have with us Director of Human Resources, Ms. Kim Ferullo. Kim, good to see you this evening, and I'll pass it over to you.
Good to see you guys as well. Thanks. I come before you tonight to present the diversity statement for your consideration. If approved, it would be included in the county employee handbook. It would be acknowledgement from each board, commission, and committee member that they've received, read, and understand the diversity statement. And I'm going to read a portion of what was drafted in regards to the diversity, equity, and inclusion statement for Talbot County. We recognize that diversity, equity, and inclusion are prominent factors that can maximize the success of our workplace by bringing in different experience levels and perspectives. The foundation of our diversity, equity, and inclusion philosophies are to clearly articulate to both our employees and the general public our intention to create a work culture that embraces our ability to hire, retain, develop, manage, and promote a diverse, engaged workforce. The county's expectation for employees and the focus on ongoing development of a work environment that values differences requires respectful communication and cooperation between all employees, listening with the intent to learn and understand, teamwork and employee participation, permitting and encouraging the representation of all groups and employee perspectives, creating and maintaining effective and productive diverse teams, and creating a positive community presence through outreach and effective service delivery that represents and reaches diverse populations. Talbot County expects employees to treat others with dignity and respect at all times. All employees are expected to exhibit conduct that reflects inclusion during work, at work functions on or off the work site, and at all county-sponsored events. The expectations set forth in this statement include all board, commission, and committee members as well. And this is what I would like for consideration and inclusion in the employee handbook as our diversity, equity, and inclusion statement.
Thank you very much, Kim. Any questions or comments with what I consider to be a very well-written diversity statement? I had a chance to read it and had a chance to go through it with a colleague of mine who's highly regarded in this field. We both felt that the statement was very well written, very well covered all the points that I believe that counties and governments and corporations should strive for. And that is to not just speak about diversity and inclusion, but live it and be an example thereof. So, Kim, I want to thank you personally for all your efforts you put into it. You certainly brought your years of experience and your past endeavors to this task, and very well crafted and very well stated, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I'll jump on that.
Appreciation. Go ahead, Chuck.
I'm sorry, Pete. Kim, you did an excellent job. We're very proud of you. This means a lot to us personally. It's a real turning point for the county, and it's something to look forward to. And I also want to comment too that Andy, you've done a great job helping put that stuff together too. So I'm very proud of both of you and proud of council for making the effort to get to this point.
Mr. Mack, I just want to echo your appreciation for the research that went behind this, and thank Ms. Ferullo for the work that went into this. I think that this is probably a little bit more formal, as we heard, perhaps a little more detailed than perhaps you originally intended, but benchmarking this against best practices elsewhere is certainly the route to go, and this clearly shows the work that went into it.
Just want to thank both of you as well, and Kim, all your research. I always had every confidence that we could, handle this in-house. There's so many best practices, as you said, Mr. Lesher, out there to look at as an example. And I also really appreciated the cover letter that you sent to council with all of your background. And I just really want to thank you. I think that you definitely nailed it. It's very complete. And I appreciate it very, very, very much. And I knew we could get this done. We have very, very talented staff and department heads, and you're a great addition, and you have done an outstanding job on this. Thank you.
Thanks.
And I was equally very impressed with the cover letter that you provided to us, and even more so of the diversity statement that you put together. Thank you. And I really like how you broke that down with the objective, explaining what it is, but also at the end wrapping up with employee concerns and showing them exactly how to follow through the channels to get protected and fix the situation. So thank you for including all of those pieces for our community and our employees. I do have one question, and I've brought this up a couple times. In my business, we have to go through phishing and money laundering videos every year to just stay in compliance. And I was wondering if we do that and if diversity could be included into that.
We are really looking into different diversity, equity, and inclusion training opportunities. I'm working very closely with our county manager on that, and personally reviewing several different options that I've located and found through my research, and trying to determine what would make the most sense for our employees.
Excellent, thank you.
Well, Kim, now that you have successfully drawn the roadmap for this council, you and Mr. Hollis, now the hard part comes up with this council and councils to come, is to live up to it. It's now to put feet to your words, actions to your comments. It's one thing to write a well-drafted diversity statement with great research and great forethought. It's a whole nother thing entirely to live up to it. And now comes the tough part, is whether or not we can live up to what you've drafted for us. That's the tough part. You've done your part, you and Mr. Hollis, in putting this together. Now this councils and councils to come will have to do its part, and that's to live up to it. So again, I thank you very much for this drafting. Very well done. As I said before, had a colleague look at it who also echoed, and I shared that with you earlier, her sentiments that you hit every point in the drafting of this document. So with that being said, if there's no further comment, Mr. Hollis, do you have anything you wish to add to this and before I call for the vote?
No, Mr. President, just waiting for the vote.
Okay. On the first ever in the history of Talbot County diversity statement, Madam Secretary, please call your roll for acceptance.
Back.
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio.
Aye.
Mr. Callahan.
Aye.
Ms. Price.
Aye.
Mr. Lesher.
Aye.
A historic vote. Thank you very much, Kim. I certainly appreciate it. And again, we'll see what the future holds as we live up to, or hopefully live up to, this statement as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Miss Angela Lane. I believe she's coming on with us shortly. This is our annual request for abatement of county real property taxes. This is a annual consideration that the finance officer brings before council of those nonprofit entities in the county who are requesting a waiver or an abatement, if you would, of their real property tax due to the county. Ms. Lane normally has a nice lengthy list for us. Waiting to see her name pop up here. Ms. Lane, are you with us?
I am on the phone. Have
Okay.
I been unmuted?
Well, maybe I was just talking too much. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Good evening, council members. I am back for my annual request to request the county council grant real property tax credits to various organizations that own property in the county. I will start this by saying all of the organizations that have requested tax credits for fiscal 21 have received them in the past, and virtually all of the properties are the same. The groups who have requested property tax credits are Chesapeake Audubon Society, which is the Pickering Creek site, and a Marsh and High Banks, which they have 6 parcels in total that they've requested tax credits for. The next organization is Chesapeake Wildlife Heritage. They're requesting tax credits on 9 parcels for 3 wildlife sanctuaries in the county. One is on Bailey's Neck, one is in the Bosman area, and one is at Canterbury Farm. The commissioners of St. Michael's have requested tax credits for 3 parcels for all being held for future town use. 2 of the parcels are on Fremont Street and 1 parcel is on Talbot Street. Habitat for Humanity has requested tax credits for 18 properties that are being held for future home sites. 9 properties are in Easton and 9 are in St. Michael's. Habitat is actually requesting less properties be credited. Habitat is requesting less properties for tax credits this year. They're down, I believe, 2 from last year. So those properties have been sold to current owners. The Neighborhood Service Center is requesting a tax credit for the South Street property that they are renovating for future housing for 3 families. The Talbot County Agricultural Center is requesting a tax credit for their Heiners Lane site. Talbot County is requesting credit for 6 parcels, park and recreation properties near Oxford, St. Michael's Road, and near the town of Queen Anne, and also for county facilities. The town of Easton is requesting tax credits for 9 parcels. 7 are hill property projects, 1 is a park property, and 1 is a public works facility property. Tuckahoe Steam and Gas Association is requesting a tax credit for their 2 parcels on Route 50. And the Waterfowl Festival is requesting a tax credit for 1 parcel being held for future use. The total request for credits, and this is just for county real property taxes, is $44,886. $825.10, and it is for a total of 56 parcels.
Thank you, Ms. Lane. We do have those listings in our Granicus, as well as the corresponding cover letters and real property tax bills associated with those properties. We certainly appreciate you not going through each and every one of them during your presentation. As we said earlier, this is an annual request of these nonprofit entities. We've done it without hesitation in the past, and I would recommend the council likewise do it this year. With that being said, the chair would entertain a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion to do the property tax credits. These are great organizations and really important to Talbot County, and it's one of the least things that we can do to assist them.
Motion made by Mr. Price. Is there a second?
Second it.
Mr. Callahan, was that you? Mr. Callahan? Okay.
Yes.
Motion and a second has been made. Is there any further comment, question of Ms. Lane before I call for the vote? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please call your roll?
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Council.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lane. Mr. Hollis, I believe I've done all the damage I can do thus far tonight. I'll turn the rest of it over to you for County Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Judge Kehoe has been very patiently waiting on the line. He has a request before council for 2 additional employees at a cost of $59,126, including benefits per employee. This is for 2 new court recorder positions. If they're approved, the need for the part-time current court reporters would diminish. I don't know if Judge Kehoe would like to, if you'd like him to say a few words or not.
Judge Kehoe, are you with us? Mr. Hollis, the total 59,000, was that for one or both?
Per employee.
Per person, okay.
Well, I'm looking at the sheet, and it is a total of an increase of a little over 91,000 if you subtract out the part-time of 25,000. I think that the biggest thing is having to add 2 sets of benefits. So, there's Judge Kehoe. Hello. So my question to you is there any way we can do this with a part-timer and a full-timer so that we only have to add 1 set of benefits? Is there anybody that's willing to do that?
The problem with 1 part-time and 1 full-time is we're probably going to be running 2 courtrooms at a time, and we may need part-time to run a 3rd courtroom. We may, because of the demand, have to look at remote locations for some trials that are coming up because we're of the basically the delay caused in trying cases by COVID. So, and if we're doing one part-time, it's going to put a strain on the rest of the staff to have to cover for the part-time court reporters. So really 2 full-time would be the best way to go about it.
So you're playing, obviously there wasn't court for many months, and now you're playing catch up, so to speak, right?
That's exactly what we're doing.
So once you get caught up, do you still feel like this is something that is an absolute have to have long term? Is there a way to do someone contractually full time, or do you think that this is a forever need?
I think it's a forever need. Generally speaking, we run 2 courtrooms at a time. Sometimes we're running 3 where somebody may be using the Bradley meeting room, the magistrate's using courtroom 2, and there's a longer trial going on in courtroom 1. So it definitely is a long-term need. On any given day, we're going to have two courtrooms running.
Okay. Well, Judge Keel, I certainly know that you're a man who does not make requests unless they're certainly needed. And I believe that you are correct, as we have been in this delay due to COVID. Case have been stacking up, so they're not just going to go away. As some people think that this virus will just go away. There will be more case lined up behind these cases as you get through your docket. So, and then you have to account for persons who may need leave themselves. They may get sick themselves and may have to be out for a couple of days or a week or so. So you're going to need coverage there for those employees as well. It just makes sense to me in the climate to be proactive and get ahead of the problem, to stay abreast of the demand that's on the court. So I would support the 2 full-time recorders at this time to be added onto the budget. I'll yield to council. If there's no, Mr. Billy, I comment.
Judge Keogh, so I kind of came into this hoping that you would say that you could get by with one and we could see how things would go and then expand if need be. My fear when going through the budget and adding positions is always what could happen next year if you have to lay somebody off. If you were thinking about this, would you rather start with the 2 people and then have that knowledge for that idea that you may have to let off a couple of the part-timers, or do you think that you are solid with these 2?
Well, I think these 2 positions would replace the part-timers. We may have part-timers who are essentially retired people who would come back from time to fill in on a per diem basis. But they're retired, so it's not a priority for them to come in, and it's really a luxury when we do get them in. And if we have 2 full-time people, it gives a lot of flexibility to say that a court reporter is going to be there all day long for whatever's going to happen during the course of the day. And quite frequently, things do happen. Cases do come up, hearings do come up. For example, a domestic violence petition may be filed, and we'll need a court reporter for that. And it may be we may have had a hearing in the morning, and there's no hearing in the afternoon, except a domestic violence petition gets filed, and we need to hear that in the afternoon. That's just one example.
So I'll make a motion that we accept what are we doing here?
2 full-time position. 2 full-time reporter, motion made by Mr. Bello. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Callahan. Any further comment or discussion? The only thing I would say is that council may remember we did get a report from our state's attorney, Scott Patterson, and Scott did lay out how the number of trials that we're seeing here, jury trials and bench trials, are increasing here in Talbot County. They're not going down, they're actually going up. So we do know, and then the length and the intricacy of those particular proceedings are also getting somewhat long as well. So if you recall that report from Mr. Patterson last budget, I believe it was, that report did lay out to us that these proceedings here were increasing here in Talbot County. We're not going down, we're actually going up. So just wanted to add that into the conversation. So we have the motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, Madam Secretary, would you please call your roll?
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Thank you for being with us, and thank you. I appreciate your patience and holding on for us.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for listening to this request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy your evening.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hollis, I'll put you back over to you, sir.
Mr. President, I believe Mr. Clark is still on the line. He has a request before the council to approve the issuance of a proposal for bids to bid out the engineering services for the Ferry Point wastewater system. Council has spent considerable time having this item discussed previously, and we're now to the point of asking for approval to bid it out for engineering services. And I don't know if Mr. Clark is on to add to that.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Brad, we hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, this is basically to go ahead and put what we would end up doing is finish up at the RFP and then put it out to bid. We would still come back to the county council once we've gotten with the recommendation to award once we have the prices.
Okay. Any other comment or question of Mr. Clark? I'm sorry. Madam Secretary, please call your roll.
Hang on. Sorry, I didn't get myself unmuted. Okay, so this is the one that we have talked about many times about whether it was going to be to the possibility of running a line to trap, or this is the discharge into the chop tank, and this is going to bring online the residential properties, but not the commercial yet, right? Or is it vice versa, the other way around?
It's the other way around. We would be looking at bringing on the commercial properties and not bringing on the residential at this time.
But have we, you want to bid out the engineering services? I mean, have we approved that this is what we want to do?
I think at the last work session, the council, we got the direction to go ahead and move forward with the MBR, which is the microbiological reactor unit, and then ultimately design it for a discharge to the chop tank river.
And I know we're bidding it out. It gets paid for completely by the users?
Yes, ma'am. Once everything's all said and done, all the costs that have been expended by the county would then be turned over, and then ultimately that would be incorporated in their loan package, and that would reimburse the county.
And those few commercial properties can afford the cost of an entire wastewater treatment plant?
We're looking at, depending upon the cost, we're probably looking at anywhere from $500,000 to $750,000 at this point in time.
Total cost or per commercial property?
Right now we're looking at the total cost and talking with some vendors that would probably be in the $500,000 to $750,000 range.
To have it built out?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thought it was millions.
We are getting pricing that's lower than that, yes.
All right, thank you.
All right. Madam Secretary, call your roll, please.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. DiGilio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lesher?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Ray.
Thank you. All right, no problem.
So council, next item involves economic development. I believe Ms. Van Hooser is still on the line, though maybe it might be a poor connection. We're requesting your approval to enter into an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, with the Midshore Regional Council to partner on a grant project through U.S. Economic Development Administration to create a dashboard application and other web-based solutions to address economic impacts of the coronavirus pandemic. Economic Development and Tourism will receive $60,000 to complete this work, and no county funds are required. Again, I don't know if Ms. Van Hooser is on and can add to that.
If she's on, can you press *3 on your phone and I'll unmute you?
Is she there with us?
I do not see a request.
Maybe she's not.
I do not see a request.
Okay. All right. This is an MOU. No county dollars are part of this to do an economic development study regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. we will be joining with the Tri-County Council, the Lower Eastern Shore, along with some other entities to look at this impact. There's no further questions of Mr. Hollis. Again, Ms. Manhus is not with us. I will entertain a motion at this time.
Frank DeVillio, I'll make a motion that we enter into the MOU.
Made by Mr. DeVillio. Second. Second by Mrs. Price. There's no further comments or questions of Mr. Hollis. Madam Secretary, call your roll.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Council, next I'd like to ask for approval to move forward on January 1st of 2021 with your previously approved mid-year salary increases and adjustments as provided for in the current budget. Aware of a significant increase beyond what we anticipated in income tax payments from the state for the final payment of the fiscal year. I would also caution that next fiscal year you may not be in the same position of being able to reward the hard work of your employees. So again, council, you've already approved this as part of the budget, but if you remember, you put it to the side to give a blessing before you went ahead and distributed anything as of January 1st. I'm asking for that final blessing.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hollis. I couldn't unmute myself for some reason. Okay, any further questions? That Ms. Hollis is correct. Council did discuss this during the budget. We wanted to hold this off and not issue these increases right away. County manager's now asking that we go ahead and do that now. In light of everything that we've gone through with COVID-19 with our employees here, I think it's just a fitting way to show them that we're still supporting them and that we still appreciate all the hard work that they've done in dealing with shutdowns and reopenings and everything else that they had to deal with, storms and what have you. So I certainly support it, and I'll pass it on for any other comment.
Mr. Tack, I wholeheartedly agree. We did say at the time we would see how fiscal year end figures came in. They came in much more favorably than projected. And I agree with you that our employees deserve these modest increases, especially with the added stress of the pandemic, the way that they have risen to that challenge. So I wholeheartedly support this. Implementing this planned increase at this time.
Anyone else?
I think we all support it and appreciate the employees, and thankfully we have for this year, or actually it's kind of last year's at this point, fiscal year's income tax revenues. It's a good number, and it's going to hold us. We hope for a little while, as it's a recurring theme. Typically with me, it's like, yeah, right now we have the money in the bank. It's the only thing that's scary is when you're giving an actual salary increase. It's obviously expected the next year and the next year and the next year, and that's when we know we're going to start having problems. Certainly support it now. Hopefully we won't have to go, backwards or anything like that. We just be grateful that we had some good revenues come in and we're able to do this at this point. So.
Okay. If there's no other comment, the chair will entertain a motion to proceed with the salary increases at this time.
So moved.
By Mr. Lesher.
Second.
Second by Mr.
Frank DeVillio.
Any further comment? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, please call your roll.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Council, we're requesting your approval to enter into an agreement with the Maryland Department of Natural Resources regarding the Talbot and Fishing Pier State Park on the Talbot County side of the Choptank River, specifically excluding the pier itself. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board this past week, have the item on their agenda and are in favor of the memorandum of agreement. This is a planning document between the two bodies, facilitated in part by Secretary Riccio. For those of you that have been on the council for many years, you may remember actually Council Member Tom Duncan was a very big proponent of this, and it has actually taken us this long to get to the memorandum stage and actually have some movement on it.
You're absolutely correct, Mr. Hollis. Mr. Duncan was a very strong supporter of working out some kind of a memorandum of understanding or agreement with the state regarding the Bill Burton Park, although we don't want the pier. But the park did allow for some water features as well as some camping features as well, or open space for recreational features on that site. I remember when our former Parks and Rec director, Mr. Rick Toll, took me down there many, many years ago when I first walked that site with him. And recently, when the Lieutenant Governor came in for the unveiling of the exhibits, we also had a chance to go down there with him and walk the site as well. It's a beautiful site right there on the mouth of the big Chesapeake River as it comes out, and it gives us what Talbot County really needs is another beachfront feature so that people can come in and enjoy the county and enjoy what we have to offer. I remember when the pandemic first hit. And the weather started getting warm. If you remember, all the beaches were closed in the area. And I remember crossing over the bridge there and looking over to my right and seeing that there were some people waiting out there, right there on that little sandbar at the base of the park. So yeah, we've been working at this for some time. We had an agreement for whatever reason. It never got drafted. Not pointing fingers at either side, but we never got it done. Mr. Toll left, and of course we now have Mr. Pepper with us. But this is something I hope this council can work towards getting this agreement worked out so that we can have this ability to use this park. This would be a great asset to this county. It really would. And one other thing I might want to add to council, the YMCA reached out to me, Robbie Gill, several months ago about this very parcel, and said that they would also contribute their support to it. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, Robbie, but they will offer their support for anything that they could do to help out with this as well. So it'll be a great asset to our portfolio. So we'll be able to work something out with them. Again, Secretary Riccio has been a strong proponent of this herself. We certainly appreciate all of her support in this endeavor. So if we can make this work, wow, it'll be really great for this county. And I'll yield.
So this is Frank DeVillio. So I did present this to the Parks Board. It came with the typical cautions of we're adding more space. Who's going to maintain it? Who's going to pick up the trash? We may need to look at county staff that we have there. And actually one of the Parks Board's members had a family member who was maintaining that property for, well, I guess Dorchester County, because they were working the Harriet Tubman and they would come up there to maintain both. They were, I believe, just pulled off of that to stay down there at the Harriet Tubman exhibit. So there aren't necessarily rangers stationed there. It's not, that big of a park, 25 acres, but it has some beautiful trails through it. It's an excellent access point for the water. I've said it many times. I'll continue saying it, that until people are able to get out and taste the bay and play in it and really appreciate it, they don't really understand how much they need to protect it. So I think it's looking at the Oxford Strand that's down there, Bellevue Beach, Claiborne Beach, this will be another wonderful access point for the community.
Looking for some motion for approval if the council is so inclined.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hollis. I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we
motion made
into the agreement. Thank
you, Mr. DeVillio. Chuck, was that a second from you?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Seconded from Chuck. If there's no further comment, Madam Secretary, would you please call your roll?
Mr. Bell.
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Callahan,
Aye.
Ms. Price,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher.
Aye.
Council requesting your approval to procure a 2020 rock solid cargo trailer to replace the county's 2003 community response trailer. If approved, the trailer will be purchased by piggybacking on an existing Anne Arundel County contract. Total cost is $16,000 that we paid for by grant dollars using the 2019 Emergency Management Program grant. No county funds are required.
That's my favorite line of the night that you said, Mr. Hollis. No county funds.
Absolutely.
So with that, I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Price.
I'll second it.
Second made by Mr. Callahan. I know we do have Mr. LaCates on line with us. Brian, you got a motion in a second. Do you have anything you wish to add before I call for the roll?
I would just like to say thank you. That's all. I won't delay the meeting any further.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Madam Secretary, will you please call your roll?
Mr. Pack,
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio,
Aye.
Mr. Callahan,
Aye.
Ms. Price,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Mr. President. I was asking Ms. Morris, the Warren Edwards Road Superintendent is on the line.
Is Warren with us?
Mr. Edwards, if you're on the line, if you could press *3 on your phone so I can unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
Warren is there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Warren.
Okay. Hi. Good evening, Council.
So Warren, let me queue up the request real quick and you can explain it, okay?
Yes, sir.
So you're requesting council approval to extend the lease agreement through November 6th for the crusher and stacker equipment at the repurposing center for an additional price of $22,000. Mid-Atlantic Machinery is willing to put 100% of the rental fees toward the purchase of the crusher, making the buyout of $377,247. So Warren, that's why I wanted to go ahead.
Okay. So good evening again, Council. The reason we're asking for this request is because the material from the second school is just coming in slow. All this material will be resellable material when we get permission from the council back to the contractors in the county. We're expecting 7,000 to 10,000 tons of repurposed material just from the school. I have some other figures if you need them to explain what we're doing, but it is very important that you look at the number that they're subtracting from the purchase of the two pieces of equipment. One is the stacker and one is the crusher that we've been renting. Because right now, up to November the 1st, it's 100% off the cost of the price.
Okay.
Hey, so Warren, can you hear me? It's Chuck.
Yes, I can, Mr. Callahan.
Yeah. Could you like, I think we talked about it about a month ago or so. You were going to bring some figures back to us and see at this point how much money we brought in.
We just got a check from the first school. It was a little over $61,000 from the first school. It was just over 7,000 tons of material we sold back to them.
I got you.
And we have lots of material in there that is ready to sell.
Okay.
And everybody comes in there every day wants to buy it.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, Warren, it's Laura. So we got the check, and so do you think that the rental costs will be covered by the revenue that we get? I mean, are we going to lose money on this, or are we going to end up making money on it?
So right now we're operating with our hands behind our back. We spent almost $12,000 in scale fees at Vulcan because the school had to weigh the material that they demoed, not the recycled material. So we're losing money there. That should be part of our. We would have had $80,000 in revenue just from that first cycle. So to answer your question, yes, we should make our money back easily because I'm negotiating with Schumer, who's doing a job for Mr. Clark down in St. Michael, and they're willing to pay us $14 a ton for the material, and actually they love it. It's amazing.
We just want to make sure that our expenses don't outweigh our revenues at the end of the day.
Well, right now, again, we're operating with our hands behind our back. We got two people down there and myself. You know, so I'm running the roads department and running that and doing all the permits and inspections. And if we open the door, the sales would be phenomenal. The revenue just for the permit to come in there and drop repurposed materials would be significant. Not to mention $20 a load, which everybody says is absolutely acceptable.
And where are we with opening the doors?
We have a meeting. I met with Mary Kay from Planning and Zoning and Ken and Mike Murtaugh and Ann from Environmental Health and Davis, Bowen, and Friedel. We have a meeting, I think it's October 14th for TAC Committee. Unless they throw a horseshoe at me that I'm not expecting, we look like we're in good shape for that. Mary Kay gave Ken a list of things from Davis, Bowen, and Friedel that we need. He said there was no issue. He would take care of them. I talked to Chris Westerfield today from Maryland Department of Environment. We absolutely do not have to do anything about mitigation and or wetlands because we're working within the burned area. So that takes Mr. Murtaugh out of the equation. I don't see I got permission from the neighbors, the Gannons, because the only issue we know of is the variance for the property line, and they're going to write us a letter saying they have no issue with it whatsoever. So I don't see any hiccups.
Warren, what day is that meeting again?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, Warren. Which day is that TAC meeting again?
I believe it's October the 14th.
Okay. There's no other questions October the 14th. And yeah, I mean, we need to get this site up and running to its full capacity. And right now it's just lipping along. Yes, there were some things that we had to do regulation-wise, and I think you're working towards that. Hopefully the TAC meeting will address those lingering issues. It looks like the variance question you've already got resolved, but there was also some other environmental issues I do remember that had to be worked out. So hopefully things will come to a complete resolution after the 14th, and this council will unleash you, or untie your hands from behind your back, and allow this repurposing center to really flourish and bring in the revenue that it is designed to do. So we'll hopefully see you sometime late October, early November to make that consideration at that time. Right now, though, it is a request before council to go ahead and extend the lease on this crusher. The additional payments will go towards any purchase of the item, and it appears that we still have material from the schools that we need to process. So I support it, and I'll yield to council.
I'll make a motion. Oh, go ahead.
Make a motion that we allow Mr. Edwards to extend the lease.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Vilio, second by Mrs. Price. Any further comment? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, please call your roll. Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Harris and Jones.
Mr. Hollis, I think you were muted right before you started. If you can repeat that again, please.
Sure. For the Animal Control Board, requesting the reappointment of Dr. Steve Harris and Joan Trudeau Lee.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we accept.
Mr. DeVillio. Second by Mrs. Price. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, call your roll.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Mr. Hollis, you were muted again, so try one more time.
Okay. The town of St. Michael's is requesting the reappointment of Chief Smith as a representative to the local emergency planning committee.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
By Mr. Callahan, second by Mrs. Price. Madam Secretary, please call your roll.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
We gain the reappointment of Ian Fleming representing the bed and breakfast industry to the tourism board.
So moved.
Move on, Mrs. Price.
Second it.
Second by Mr. Callahan. Madam Secretary, please call your roll.
Mr. Pack?
Aye.
Mr. DeVillio?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Chuck? Chuck, you need to vote.
His mouth moved aye, but
okay.
Chuck, are you good? Is he not seeing us or hearing us? Chuck, are you good?
I'm good. I just went out on you. Sorry.
Okay, so are you voting yes?
I'm yes. Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Price?
Sorry.
aye.
Mr. Lusher?
Aye.
Now we've lost Andy.
No, I'm just didn't laugh. Frederick Douglass Day is a virtual event this year. It is scheduled for Saturday, September 26th, starting at 10 a.m. Information is at frederickdouglassday.com. And separately, the Household Hazardous Waste Day is also Saturday, the 26th, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Queen Anne's County Public Facility at 312 Safety Drive in Easton. And that's all. Thank you very much, Council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hollis. Mrs. Morris, Mrs. Moran, what do I have for anybody for public comment?
Currently having callers on the line. We do have one requesting to speak. I will unmute the caller.
Okay, thank you.
Caller, please begin.
Is that me?
That is you.
Good evening, President Pack and Council.
Good evening.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Gail Turner. My husband and I have been coming to Tillman Island for 50 years, spending weekends at 4787 Black Walnut Point Road. My reason for coming before the council is to address the problems on Black Walnut Point with an increase of out-of-county residents fishing. The road was first made a landing after Hurricane Isabel, and there were no major problems until this year. A few of my points being, we're seeing a very large amount of these people coming to fish, mostly from out of state and out of county as well. Memorial Weekend saw 75 cars, and yes, I counted them, with an average of 4 to 5 people per car. That's 300 people, staying until the park closes at 11 o'clock. There's gobs and gobs of fishing line in the roadway, in the woods, all to be ingested by the waterfowl and the birds. Speeding is a huge issue as well. There is one speed limit sign posted where the road narrows, but I just cringe with people fishing, children running in the roadways, dogs, they're on bikes, all trying to fish as cars sometimes race down the roadway. There's a lot of litter litter, litter. Styrofoam food containers, gloves, wipes in our woods and on the roadway and in my yard. Someone dumped a tent canopy frame in the woods, to give you one example. The rocks are full of the litter. Recs and Parks does regularly come to clean up, but I know they certainly can't remove all of the bottles, plastic bottles that make their way down into the rocks. The riprap is there to hold back our shore. It's now being used to jam fishing poles into. People walk as far as they can down the rocks, almost to the water's edge, to fish. It has decreased somewhat after the summer, I will admit. We counted today, there were 7 cars down there fishing today. During the summer, when it was a landing, they were allowed to fish for 19 hours. The signs are up posting it now as a park, where it should open at dawn and close at dusk. They were fishing for 19 hours, and now we've backed it back by 3 hours. So that leaves us residents about 5 hours to enjoy our roadway. In summary, more than a dozen private homes on Black Walnut Point Road have seen the quality of a quiet, clean, and tranquil life forever changed for the worse, unless you, the council, can make changes to return it to the pristine natural wonder it once was. People enjoy coming down to see the sunset, walk their dogs, bring their children, just take in the beauty of the bay. The consensus among the residents in emails, texts, and discussion is eliminating the fishing. There is a fishing pier in Cambridge. Our road is not conducive to fishing with people driving and residents living there in close proximity. I do know that Claiborne has a similar problem, and it has major issues as well. Please consider this important issue important and worth your time to consider to find a resolution. We don't want another summer in 2021 like this past summer. We, the citizens, did not ask for the landing or park and all the problems they have brought. We would prefer to have our beautiful views of the Chesapeake Bay enjoyed by all, without the throngs of fishermen.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. And as you alluded to, yes, we've heard similar complaints from residents over at the Claiborne Jetty. I know that Mr. Pepper and his staff have been working diligently trying to find an answer to this problem. One of the considerations was that the county may have to even go to the employment of its own park rangers. We are a victim of our own success, if you would. People want to come here and enjoy the fishing and the surrounding areas. So you're we sure to understand what you're speaking to. I just wanted to let you know that, and I know Mr. DeVillio is on our Parks Board, and I know there's something that's probably has come up several times with the Parks Board, but we certainly hear you. I know Mr. Pepper is also working towards that as well. So appreciate it.
Just to support what you said, you were exactly right. At the last Parks Board meeting, we even brought up what extra enforcement ability there is for a park ranger, if they can go with the police or what have you. Ms. Turner, as you know, we don't have the largest police force and deputies, as many as we would love to have on the road. So if we could have one more from the park who's already down there, that is one less deputy that's responding to that call that could go to another emergency. So yes, that is a known concern that we are trying to address. And actually, as of this week, we spoke about it. So thank you for bringing that back up to our attention. And yes, Mr. Peck, you were absolutely right on that. That's where we're going.
Thank you, sir.
One more thing.
Mr. Turner, I'm going to have to. We have another call. I gave you quite a bit of time there to get your statement out, but we certainly appreciate it. Anyone else on the call?
We do have another caller wishing to speak. I will unmute that caller right now.
Thank you.
Caller, you are unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yes, sir.
This is Henry Herr again calling about the Talbot Boy statue. There was another article that came out in the New Yorker speaking about it, and I thought it was quite embarrassing for the council to see how the public opinion for the statute was clearly in favor for it to come down, and it was completely ignored. Again, this is not over, as you can tell. Having your meetings virtually because you guys don't want to have the meeting in a Bradley room is difficult. When you eventually do return to the Bradley room and having the public meetings, we will be there. So, see you then.
Well, Mr. Hurd, I certainly, number one, appreciate you calling in. I hope that persons who want to come demonstrate do so peacefully, number one. We've had a meeting with our local law enforcement regarding peaceful demonstrations here on the courthouse square. Ms. Callahan sat in on a meeting with me earlier this week, as well as did Mr. Lesher, as we were working towards trying to allow for peaceful demonstration, but at the same time, not abridge the council's right to assemble peacefully as well. We are a business entity. We do have our rights to also assemble and to conduct our business. And as long as persons are demonstrating peacefully, I have no problem with that. There was a demonstration going on outside the window as I was sitting here this evening. I barely heard them. We certainly understand what you're saying, but we, again, hopefully you didn't mean it as a threat. We welcome demonstration, but we also welcome it peacefully. So let me just say that point. And we're also on call, Mr. Durham.
There are 2 other phone callers and 1 other computer user, but no one has requested to speak.
Okay. With that being said, we'll close public hearing then and council comment. Mr. Callahan, you have anything, sir?
No, I'm good tonight, Mr. President.
How did your background change? What did you do? Move around the house on me?
Man, I had some lighting issues.
Mr. DeVillio, you have anything? Hopefully you're not having lighting issues there.
No, I'm fine with lighting. No, I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Price, you have anything to add?
Well, I've got this like blurred background thing going, which is kind of cool, you know, which Mr. Hollis taught me how to do that. But I don't know, I kind of like this Brady Bunch look. You know, we can look up at each other and look down at each other. And aside from a couple of the callers that had some, it seemed to be the callers as opposed to the people participating on video, where we had some interference. But this is the second one, and I think for those who are participating on video, it works out well. And, you know, I just want to be Marsha Brady, that's all. So anyway, thank you. Y'all have a good night.
No comment there at all. Mr. Lesher, please save me.
I just want to remind Talbot County voters that we've got some very important ballot initiatives coming up on the November ballot. You'll have your opportunity to start voting if you vote by mail beginning early October, I believe, when those first ballots will go out. And so I want to call your attention to ballot questions B, C, and D. Those ballot questions together will reform Talbot County's property tax revenue cap in ways that will allow us to support public safety, support the sheriff's office, who has been losing deputies, lost a very valuable deputy this summer, and has been unable to recruit because of funding issues. This is the root of the problem is in the tax structure and our ability to afford both sheriff's deputies as well as another ambulance unit so that we can get to calls within the prescribed 20 minutes. We need to encourage people, voters, to vote yes on questions B, C, and D. A no vote is essentially a route to very slowly, as we've been doing over the years, defunding the police. I don't think we want that in Talbot County. And so please vote yes on questions B, C, and D.
Thank you, Mr. Lesher. And you basically stole my thunder. I had the ballot questions already printed out, ready to go over them, but you've already taken care of that, and I just will echo that as well. Ms. Strickland sponsored the Back the Blue rally this past Friday. I couldn't attend. I was with my lovely wife during my birthday party she had for me, my birthday dinner, so we were away enjoying the evening together. But you're absolutely right. For citizens who are supporting emergency services, the Cordova surge unit that was employed by Mr. Clay Stamp earlier this year, that council supported, to see that unit continue on, the possibility of creating a home for that unit in that Cordova area to serve that part of the county, to attract better qualified officers. As you know, this council elected to sponsor or look for a study dealing with the retirement benefit package for the sheriff's deputies here in the county. That study would just give us the total cost if we go into the LEAPS program, but it doesn't pay for it. So we still would have to find the dollars to actually pay if this council or the next council chooses to do that. And you're absolutely right. Citizens who do support those types of law enforcement and emergency services, if they want to see them continue, if they want to see them expand so that people are safe here in the county, whether they be residents or whether they be visitors coming here to fish and enjoy what we have to offer, these three amendments will allow us to do that. So I know there's been a lot of focus on a lot of other things, the COVID and school openings and virtual learning and all of that. But, you know, we have to put people's focus for the next several weeks on these ballot questions. We really do. This council, next councils need these ballot questions dearly if we want to pay for additional retirement programs to attract new officers for our sheriff's office. So I'll join you in that, Mr. Lesher, as well, in that plea. I also, along with that, want to remind everybody that the deadline for sending in your census information is September the 30th. Right now in Talbot County is about in 10th place when it comes to response to those census surveys. So I am asking all citizens now, and if you have not submitted your census survey, please do so. We have 8 days remaining. We're in 10th place. Let's see if Talbot County can push its way into the top 5, if not number 1 in the state. How about that? So it's very important when it comes to getting an accurate account as far as our population size, when it comes to dollars that we're going to receive from the federal government, and also our representation in Congress. So please, Madam Sir, if you have not submitted your census data, please do so today. Don't delay. With that being said, you know, we took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We took over 10 votes tonight. All of them were 5-0. Think about that. We took 10 votes tonight. All of them were 5-0. All of them. And Mr. Callahan surprised me on the recycling one and made it 5-0. It shows that when we work together, we can get things done. And I would just implore this council to do so. We have a number of important issues ahead of us. We have a number of important department heads who will be leaving this county that will need to be replaced with qualified, diverse people. And we're going to have to work together. We're going to have to work together to get this job done. 10 votes, 5-0. 5-0. The County Council's next meeting will be held on Tuesday, October the 13th, beginning at 6 p.m. in the Bradley Meeting Room. The council will be convening an open session at 4:30 and immediately adjourning to closed session to discuss real estate, legal, and personnel matters as listed on the statement for closing that meeting. Therefore, is there a motion to adjourn and reconvene as noted?
The Villio, so moved.
So moved by Mr. Villio, second by Mrs. Price. Madam Secretary, please call your roll. Aye.
Mr. Villio,
Aye.
Mr. Callahan,
Aye.
Ms. Price,
Aye.
Mr. Lesher.
Aye.
Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy your rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.